Hi, church family. It's Jamie Norton. I'm one of the counselors here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about stress and anxiety during this time that none of us expected or welcome. And I want to just start off with Philippians 4. Do not be anxious for anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition and with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Jesus Christ. I have to admit that when this first started happening and I started watching the things that I depend on every day kind of go away, I did not feel peace. I felt some anxiety. And I spent a little bit of time talking to my brain and saying, brain, you belong to me, and I have a choice of what you focus on. You don't have free will. I'm in charge of managing you, and you need to focus on Jesus. But I was looking at what is it that causes us to have such stress and anxiety right now. For one thing, our routines are interrupted. Most of us really enjoy job descriptions. We like to know what's expected of us. When our routines are interrupted, we sort of don't know what to do. There's unpredictability and uncertainty, and we just kind of are wandering around like a little squirrel in the middle of the road, wondering what's next and what should we do. Our idols have crashed. I think if you want to find your idols, trace your anxiety back to what you're anxious about. Are you anxious about kids? Are you anxious about work? Are you anxious about money? Are you anxious about God? Do you doubt God? Are you anxious because you can't figure it out and your mind tends to ruminate and try to figure things that you can't figure out? and what are your idols? God is often saying, come to me. I don't want you to have any idols before me. Your security and your identity, your value and significance, and all of the fruit of the Spirit rest in me, not in the things of this world. Our idols are really exposed at times like this, and the things that we have made our source inadvertently sort of show up. Another thing is the illusion of control. I hear a lot of people saying, I just feel out of control. I don't know what to do. What I've found in my life, which is fairly long now, is that when I try to control what I cannot control, it ends up controlling me and showing me over and over again I'm helpless and that I'm not really in control. And so that illusion of control takes us back to survival behaviors. When we lose control, we tend to become angry, or want to avoid, or want to run. The truth is, life is unpredictable. And when our plans get messed up, we do feel unhinged and directionless. What we had counted on evaporates before our eyes, and we're left sort of empty-handed and a little bit empty-hearted, and none of us have ever been here before. None of us know what to do. The biggest negative energy and anxiety tends to be between when something we perceive as bad happens, and we get bad news, like somebody says, oh, you've got a disease, or you're fired. Between that time and the time somebody says, oh, the test results are here, and here's a new job, that in-between time, that sort of time of ambivalence, of ambiguity, of we don't know what the result is going to be, we don't know what's going to happen, that is the hardest time of all, between the bad news and the good news. But we have a God who takes what seems to be impossible circumstances, and he reminds us of our desperate need for him. God is the best screenwriter. It's his story. He knows exactly what is happening. He knows how to move us through the tension and the challenge to the truth in a new day. God rescues us in the end. Even when it looks like evil is about to win, we know that Jesus rose from the dead, kicked death in its teeth, and gave grace the last word. Don't give in to fear because life took an unpredictable turn. We already know how the story ends. Grace wins in the end. The story is just being written. This is just a chapter. This is not the end of the day. This is something different. What are some of the ways you might take care of yourself in the middle of what we perceive as bad and what the next step in the journey is? Rest, eat, and exercise. We're going to be in a whole different way of living, but it's so important to just take care of the basics. Get up, get dressed, take a bath, comb your hair. Don't veg out. You can a little bit if you want to. Sometimes just slowing down. I think God is using all that's happening now to slow us down and look at how distracted we've become by busyness. in C.S. Lewis's Screwtape Letters, that's one of the things that Satan tells his nephew is keep them busy and they'll forget about each other and they'll forget about me. And so we are getting called out on our busyness. And so learning to relax, spend some time with God in prayer, in devotions. It's time to catch up on all those books that you have that you didn't have time to read until now. Pray with each other. Really pay attention to telling your brain where to focus. Focus is everything. When Peter was walking on the water, he did not sink until he took his eyes off Jesus. The winds and the waves of his situation were pulling him under until he looked at Jesus and said, "Help me." And Jesus was there immediately. He is the Prince of Peace, and peace resides in Christ. When we walk in Christ, we do not get anxious. We do not get afraid. Call people. We need community. Reach out. I live by myself, and so I need community. So I'm reaching out. I'm Zoom meeting. I'm talking to people. Just would rather play board games, but I really do need to see faces, FaceTime instead of call when possible. Again, focus. It's so important to keep your head where your body is. God lives in the present. We must stay in the presence of the presence. We don't need to be running off into our imagination. He gave us this crazy ability to image in, but we don't image in the best. We tend to image in the worst. We tend to catastrophize. So keep your head and your body in the same place, because that's where God is, and just let him do the driving. He knows where we're going. We don't know where we're going. We can't know where we're going. So keep your head and your body together. Someone told me one time, when you start to get anxious or afraid, take 2 mental steps back and breathe in Christ's Spirit, because you just outran your faith, and then do the next right thing. So take those 2 mental steps backwards. Breathe in Christ's Spirit, because you just outran your faith. When we get anxious or afraid, we have to remember Jesus is not anxious and he is not afraid. I love the serenity prayer. Give me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, change what I can, and wisdom to know the difference. The first thing I often ask myself when something happens in my life is, can I change this right now? Not maybe next week or next month. Can I do anything about this right now? And if I can't change it right now, I don't need to mess with it right now. I need to go back and focusing on the things that I can change, or just being at peace in Christ. Ask yourself, what can I do? And do that. But don't get all hung up on what you can't do. There is one prayer that never fails, and I would really encourage us to remember that. Jesus felt anxiety and fear before he was going in to be crucified. At the end of the day, he said the prayer that never fails. Thy will, not mine, be done. Thy will, not mine, be done. God is in charge. And he was able, after he surrendered his will to God's will, to walk in peace through the most difficult situation that anybody has ever gone through, for you and for me. When we say that prayer, it automatically brings us back to peace. Your will, not mine, be done. This is just a chapter. This is not the end of the story. The end of the story is amazing and wonderful, and we need to remember who we are, whose we are, and where we are. Thank you. Take care of yourself.